9 spine-chilling, true stories of the cursed and haunted, unexplained terrors revealed. Jenna couldn't shake that feeling, the one that crept up her spine every time she flicked off the last lights in the diner and headed home. The night air was thick, almost pressurized, as though the world outside held its breath waiting. She'd wrung her hands dry of worries, but those flickering lights, once just an annoyance, had morphed into a malicious presence in her mind. Every time she turned her back, she swore she could feel eyes on her. Tonight, something was off. As she walked to her car, her heart raced, but she thrust open the door, determined to ignore whatever haunted her thoughts. The next morning, dread cloaked over Jenna like a heavy blanket. Sam and Lily had been restless, whispering secrets late into the night. She'd dismiss it, chalk it up to kids being kids if it hadn't felt so wrong. Walking to the front door, she stopped dead. Symbols. Strange, swirling symbols marred the damp mud, an unwelcome invitation from a long-buried curse, whispering tales of families lost, never seen again. Her blood chilled. No way was it anything other than her imagination running wild. Attempting normalcy, Jenna addressed their breakfast as Sam and Lily exchanged knowing glances. She forced a smile. "Let's get on with the day, yeah?" But their silence filled the room, clawing at her skin. Panic bubbled in her, the same old dread gnawing at her heart. When she asked about the symbols, they turned pale, pressing into each other as if to shield against the ghosts lurking in their corners. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Jenna's breath caught. She needed help. Desperate, she turned to Mr. Thompson, the local historian with a reputation for lurking where history danced closely with the eerie. He welcomed her with a strange, unsettling smile, his questions probing too deep, scraping against the thin walls of her sanity. The shadows in his eyes mirrored her fears. Whispers of the past slithered around her every thought. That night, she returned from her shift late, fatigue clinging to her like a shroud. The house was dark, too dark. No giggles, no sleepy murmurs. Sam? Lily? Silence. Rushing through the rooms, her heart thundered, a warning beat of dread. Her children were gone. The park loomed outside, overgrown and dense with secrets. Jenna sprinted through the paths, adrenaline coursing through her veins. The locals spoke of ghosts that haunted this very ground, and now she felt them breathing down her neck, the whispers growing louder, mocking her. Shadows flickered beyond her line of sight. Breathless, she turned each corner, desperate not to dwell on how lost she had become. Then a scream sliced through the air, sharp, piercing. It echoed from the depths of the park, unmistakably Lily. Panic burst over Jenna like icy water. The truth was closing in as darkness descended, an all-consuming tendril wrapping around her sanity. "Where are you?" she shouted into the dark. As she moved toward the sound, the ground trembled with an unseen force, urging her deeper into secrets that wanted to remain buried. The weight of betrayal and silence tightened, merging with whispers of forgotten curses. She felt it behind her, something darkly sinister. But as hope flickered at the back of her mind, she realized the truth. They might be closer than she thought. Terror gripped her. It waited just underneath the surface, crawling ever so steadily toward her heart. But as Jenna's courage pushed her forward, she knew, whatever was waiting in that park, she had to face it head-on. But at what cost? The shadows swallowed Jenna as she pressed deeper into the heart of the park, the trees looming like spectral sentinels. The panic in her chest tightened with each step, threatening to consume her whole. "Lily! Sam!" The echoes of her pleas sank into the thick night air, swallowed whole by the creeping whisper of the dark. The scream had faded, replaced by a wretched silence that clawed at her sanity. Thing was, Jenna wasn't the only one in the park. She could feel eyes trailing her from the twisted branches, unseen beings tucked away in the recesses of the underbrush. The familiar feelings of being watched had returned, sharper now, more demanding. Twigs cracked and shadows shifted. Was it her imagination again, or were they there, lurking, clawing for their piece of her? She stumbled upon the old stone well, partially collapsed and choked by roots. Her breath came in frantic bursts as she steadied herself against its jagged edge. Memories flooded her mind as she recalled whispers Mr. Thompson had spoken of. The well that claimed lost souls, the sinister tales that shouldn't have been taken lightly. Could it be that the symbols in her yard were not just remnants of a child's game, but a warning? Just as she turned to move past, a low rumble reverberated through the ground, a tremor of something sinister lurking below. Jenna froze. "No! No!" But as if offering her a cruel invitation, whispers began to curl around her, calling her name with a voice that wasn't her own. "Jenna, join us!" Her pulse quickened as she backed away from the well, panic spiraling into true terror. The sound of her children's laughter echoed in her mind, mingling with that horrific whisper. Were they part of this too? She needed to think, needed to escape. Turning, she sprinted through the path, branches slapping against her arms, grazing her like desperate hands. Echoes of the scream returned, a haunting phantom. "Lily!" Fear propelled her forward, yet every step only pulled her deeper into the nightmare. The once familiar park now twisted into a labyrinth of fear. Shadows danced in her periphery, ever shifting, taunting her with each fleeting glance. Just as she rounded a bend, the laughing returned, raw and chilling, unlike her children. It crescendoed and stopped, replaced by broken sobs. It was Lily, but twisted, drenched in anguish. Jenna's gut twisted, the sound drawing her closer, yet sending ice through her veins. "Just around the corner," Jenna yelled, her voice shaking. "I'm coming!" As she stumbled ahead, curtains of darkness thinned to reveal a hollowed clearing bathed in moonlight. In the center, a twisted tree stood, the source of it all, a gnarled century of vile secrets. Beneath it, forms writhed. Sam and Lily, she could barely make them out. Her heart raced, she dashed toward them, fear colliding with hope. "Hold on!" she cried. But as she approached, the children began fading, their faces becoming indistinct, the shadows blending into a malevolent swarm around the roots of the tree. Panic surged through her veins, dragging her down. "No, not my kids!" Suddenly, an unseen force lunged at her mid-stride. A cold grip snatched her ankle, pulling her towards the earth as the whispers grew louder, chanting her name in a chorus of desperation. In that moment, Jenna was torn between chasing the fading forms of her children and the unbearable pull of the ground beneath her. Eyes wide, she screamed. Was she drowning in darkness, or had it claimed her soul entirely? But just as despair seemed to suffocate her, a shocking revelation dawned. This wasn't just a rescue, it was a reckoning. The truth of the curse spiraled through her mind like lightning. This was where it began. What had she unleashed? "Only you can set them free," the shadows hissed, a terrifying promise hanging heavy in the air. Jenna had to choose. Which path would she take? Risk it all or remain forever entangled in the shadows? With her heart racing, Jenna felt the grip loosen just slightly. Did she dare to seize the moment? Time hung still around her, as the decision loomed like an executioner's blade. What would she sacrifice to save her children? Overhead, the wind howled through the leaves as if answering her agony, and she knew in that breath of silence she was running out of time. Jenna's breath came in gasps as she fought against the creeping darkness, panic clawing at her throat. The shadows whispered promises of despair, fluttering around her like moths drawn to a flame. Only you can set them free. Their hissing words echoed in her mind, mixing with Lily's anguished sobs. The grip on her ankle waned, but the darkness wasn't finished with her yet. Suddenly, shadows shifted, amalgamating into a grotesque figure. It twisted and writhed, a slender silhouette that almost seemed human. Its face was obscured, murky and distorted, eyes like black holes devouring any hint of light. Jenna's heart raced. She had to act. The image of her children faded to a mere memory, yet she could still hear them play, their laughter mingling with that sorrowful wail that sent ice coursing through her veins. "I won't abandon you," she yelled, defiance spilling into her voice, and with it some inner flame sparked within her, pushing back the sweeping tide of fear. Her foot slipped from the clutches of the shadow, and with a desperate sprint she moved towards the twisted tree. Hope battled dread, a fierce struggle within her chest. "I'm coming!" she shouted, as if those words could bridge the chasm of despair separating her from her kids. The air thickened around her, every breath laden with bitterness. Jenna reached the tree, its gnarled roots reaching out like skeletal fingers. She could feel its energy, a pulsating horror that thrummed beneath her feet. The faces of her children flickered before her eyes, frightened, lost, reaching for her, begging for rescue. "Please, tell me how to save you." But their mouths moved silently, tangled in a web of shadows, a macabre performance just beyond her understanding. The figure loomed closer, its featureless face now brushing against Jenna's cheek, cold as grave dirt. Its breath came in ragged whispers. "Surrender. Be one of us." "Never!" she screamed, pulling away, and as she did, her mind cracked open with the truth. The well, the tree, this place was built on sacrifice. It required something more than just fears to claim, an offering tangled in the very fibers of her soul. Suddenly, a burst of intelligence flared through her, a memory of the symbols carved around her yard. They were not a game. They were warnings, warnings to keep her children away from this darkness. Maybe, just maybe, they were a clue. "Do you need blood?" She spat at the wretched figure. "Is that what you want?" The figure recoiled slightly, its form flickering. Was it possible? Her heart pounded, but she clung onto her will. She would face it, defy the dark chasm threatening to swallow her whole. The flickering shadows grew angry, crawling up her legs, twisting around her like a constrictor. They began pulling her toward the earth again, dragging her down into the suffocating void. "You must choose your resolve or your children's life." "Let them go," she yelled, her voice a desperate plea filled with all the strength she could muster. "Take me instead." But the darkness only laughed, a cruel, hollow sound that festered in her mind. She could feel her children's terror crashing into her, but she had to save them. She owed them everything. With one final surge of fear, she lunged forward, arms outstretched, and seized the closest shadow she could grasp. As she did, the world exploded in electric pain. The symphony of wails crescendoed, piercing her ears as swaths of darkness peeled away. But what had she just done? Had she taken the shadows for herself, and would it be enough? As silence enveloped her, Jenna realized she was no longer at the tree. She stood alone in the clearing, the figments of her children nowhere to be found. A chilling realization washed over her like ice water. What had she sacrificed to save them? "Jenna!" A distant voice called, echoing through the vast emptiness. "Lily?" What had she unleashed, and was the cost far greater than she ever imagined? The shadows shifted around her, drawing closer as the echoes deepened. A darkness she thought she fought off was about to close in once more, and she had no idea whether her children were closer to her or forever lost. Desperation clawed at her heart. Would she stay and fight once more, or was there a darker fate waiting just beyond the veil? Jenna spun in place, her heart thundering like a drum in the suffocating stillness. The distant voice echoed again, closer this time, but warped, tinged with despair. "Jenna!" She blinked, hoping to summon the sight of her children, to glimpse their faces once again. Just a fleeting moment. Was it too much to ask? The shadows hovered like vultures, their whispers growing louder, turning into a cacophony of voices, twisted versions of her own fears and regrets. "You are lost, like them," they chanted. Her thoughts spiraled as dread crept into her marrow. What had she done? "Lily!" she cried again, a desperate prayer challenging the darkness around her. With trembling hands she felt for the bitter remnants of hope she clung to. Yet nothing emerged. The air churned, thick and alive, crackling against her skin. The ground beneath her shifted, roots curling and writhing, snatching at her feet like a hungry beast. Jenna stumbled backward, a scream clawing to escape her throat. "Lily, I'm coming!" She dashed into the labyrinth of trees, their trunks looming like sentinels, mocking her desperate venture. But the darkness surged, forming shadows that leapt at her, clawing and grappling. "You're one of us now," it taunted, its voice a gravelly hiss flitting about her head. Jenna pressed forward, fighting against every instinct urging her to surrender. Planting her feet firmly, she scanned for a sign, a glimpse of the familiar. A glint caught her eye, a small object glimmering faintly beneath the earth-tangled roots. With strength drawn from the pit of her soul, she fell to her knees and clawed at the dirt. Her fingers scraped against something cool and metallic. Pulling it free, she held it up to the dull light. It was a locket, tarnished but still beautiful. Her breath hitched as she recognized the engraved initials. "Is this—" A surge of warmth flooded through her as memories fluttered back. Her children's laughter, the way they would twirl in the sunlight, their playtimes, before everything had turned dark. The darkness shuddered, an angry wail erupting from its depths, echoing through the hollow grove. "Give it to me! You don't deserve its power!" Jenna's grip tightened. "No, this is mine. This is my love for them." As the shadows roared and twisted, seeking to reclaim their hold, Jenna pressed the locket to her heart. It glowed, a blinding light radiating from the small artifact, pushing back the encroaching blackness. Yet in the shimmering white light, new figures began to form, swirling before her. Visions of children trapped, their faces twinkling with hope and longing. Was this possible? Were they truly here, or mere illusions cast by her fading mind? "Mommy!" one of the faces cried, reaching out. "Help me!" Her heart ached. "Hold on, I'm coming!" The shadows lashed out, snapping and biting. She felt a cold grip around her ankle, but she wouldn't let them win. She had to be brave. She steadied her breath and shouted, "If I have to choose, I choose my love for them." The light from the locket expanded, enveloping her like a protective cocoon. Yet the darkness seethed, writhing in protest. In a flash, tendrils of shadow recoiled, clinging to her but not making a final move. Had she bought herself time, or was the battle just beginning? The weight of the world pressed down as Jenna scanned the shadowy trees around her for any sign of her children. "Lily, please!" The final word fell from her lips like a prayer when a sinister laugh echoed back, echoing with dread and promise. "Mommy is not so easily forgotten, nor are the choices we make." What did that mean? A chill coursed through her. Time was running out. The locket pulsed against her chest, and Jenna faced the shadows, ready to fight again. But would it be enough? Dread hung heavy in the air as she stood on the brink of a deeper darkness. What lay ahead, waiting just beneath the surface? The shadows crackled, squirming in the light of the locket, their dark forms flickering like flames in the wind. Jenna's pulse raced as she felt power thrumming from the small piece of metal, but uncertainty gnawed at her. How long could this fragile light hold back the encroaching night? "Mommy!" the voices wailed, a chorus of childlike desperation mixing with the ominous drone of the shadows. In that moment, Jenna knew she had to act. She couldn't let this fleeting light fade. The locket continued to pulse, its glow illuminating the eyes of the trapped children, their faces twisted in fear and longing. She stepped forward, frantic and desperate. "I won't leave you. I won't abandon you like they did. Where are you? Where are you?" Suddenly the trees rustled ominously, the branches twisting like clenched fists. A rustle, a whisper. Jenna spun, her breath hitching. What was there? Was that a shadow moving? Was it her imagination, or— "Lily?" She took a tentative step forward, the locket providing a map against the unrelenting dark. "Where are you?" The path grew colder, every heartbeat echoing in her ears, amplifying the dread. She was losing them again, slipping through her fingers like sand. Jenna squeezed the locket tighter, urging it to shine brighter. "No! This light is for my children!" The shadows screamed, a banshee's wail, ratcheting back in protest, but still they surged forward. The grip around her ankle tightened, barbs unseen pricking into her skin. She yanked her foot free, but felt it snagged on something more than shadows. It was as if the ground wanted to devour her whole. "No!" she screamed, pulling and twisting, adrenaline fueling her escape. In the cacophony, Jenna caught sight of a glint in the underbrush. It was a doll, dirty and forlorn, but achingly familiar. Lily's favorite. A path carved through the thick undergrowth beckoned. She stumbled toward it. "Lily, I'm coming, I promise," she shouted, her voice echoing against the morbid laughter around her. But as she moved, the shadows multiplied, growing angry, clawing at the edges of her vision. "Mommy, don't leave me!" The frantic cries twisted her gut. Jenna's heart raced, the world a blur, pain radiating from her ankle, seeping into her mind. She had to keep moving. The glow of the locket dimmed slightly. Time was slipping away. A fierce urge to return to the doll surged over her. She grabbed it, the cloth still warm from Lily's embrace, and she tucked it against her chest. "Hold on, my baby. I'm here." In that moment, her senses sharpened. The shadows recoiled as she held the doll aloft, and the locket flared, creating a blinding light. But it wasn't just light. It was warmth. Familiar, hopeful. With renewed determination, Jenna sprinted through the crowd of shadows, weaving in and out of grasping hands. They were screaming, pleading for her, attempting to pull her under, each touch a talon digging into her flesh. "Mommy, I'm scared!" Another voice echoed, a voice she recognized not as Lily's but an echo of her own, twisted and mangled, calling out from the depths of the shadows. "What have you done? You wanted this!" The darkness hissed back. "You brought us here. We are your nightmares." Jenna stumbled, barely keeping her footing. The locket pulsed again, a steady heartbeat, and she finally saw it, the silhouette of a girl just up ahead, eyes darting, hands reaching out desperately. "Lily!" It was her. Jenna surged forward, never breaking eye contact, but the shadows surged, thickening, closing in at an alarming pace. Every ounce of strength propelled her forward, and she reached for her daughter, desperate. "Hang on, baby, I won't let you go." Fingers stretched, but then the shadows snapped back, a sudden rush of dark energy. Jenna felt the ground tremble beneath her, the air thick with despair. The seemingly endless horizon of shadows twisted, reshaping, reflecting her deepest fears. "Mommy!" Lily's figure flickered, becoming ephemeral, as if she were caught in a dream. "Mommy, save me!" The universe held its breath. A burning weight pressed on Jenna's heart. This was her moment, her choice. But what price would she pay for her love? With fists clenched and breath poised, she took one last step into the surge of darkness. A chilling question emerged in the whirlpool of her thoughts. Was this a rescue or a complete surrender? As the shadows roared in unison, would the bond of love prove stronger than the darkness? Or would it finish its quest, claiming her as a permanent offering? With every ounce of courage left, Jenna dove into the abyss. The hunt for her children was only just beginning. Jenna plunged into the darkness, the world around her melting into a murky amalgamation of terror. The shadows surged, enveloping her like a thick fog, whispering secrets that made her skin crawl. It was cold, so cold that her breath crystallized in the air, forming small clouds that faded instantly. Panic clawed at her throat as she fought to keep from drowning in the overwhelming dark tide. "Lily!" she cried again, her voice cutting through the silence like a knife. There was a flicker ahead, a glimmer that reassembled her shattered hopes, but the shadows clawed and ripped at her, voices rising like a cacophony, filling her head with doubt. "You can't have her. You left them," they hissed, each word laced with venom. "You did this to them. You don't deserve her." Sweat dripped down Jenna's back, chilling her to the bone. Each heartbeat felt like a sledgehammer against her ribs as she fought the pull of despair. Every step felt heavy, like trudging through molasses. "No, I won't abandon them again." She focused on the light, her guiding star in this hell. It flickered in and out, teasing her with the promise of her lost daughter. She pushed forward until she stumbled, the underbrush clawing at her legs, the locket's glow flickering dangerously low. "Mommy, please!" The echoes taunted from all sides, voices overlapping in a haunting symphony. She clasped the doll tighter, squeezing her eyes shut against the waves of despair washing over her. "I will save you!" Jenna screamed, the words tearing from her throat like a battle cry. But the shadows thickened, drowning her voice in a sea of rage. The air was suffocating, pushing down on her. "You can't escape!" A low growl reverberated throughout the darkness, rattling her bones. In a moment of sheer desperation, Jenna ripped the locket from her neck, its gold chain glistening even in the dark, a last promise. She hurled it into the depths of the darkness, like a flare into the void. It landed, sparking to life with an intensity that momentarily blinded her. The shadows recoiled, shrieking in agony, as the warm light surged outward, illuminating the twisted faces of countless lost souls. "Mommy!" The voice was closer now, relatable yet distant, like a forgotten melody renewing its haunting song. Jenna surged forward once more, the warmth of the locket now echoing in her core, infusing her with a strength that felt unnatural yet divine. "Lily, hold on!" She gasped as she ran through a clearing, light still swirling around her, illuminating the ruined remnants of homes that had once been filled with laughter. Photos were strewn about like fallen leaves, faces frozen in moments of joy. A chill grasped her heart. This was a graveyard of memories, of families ripped apart. A tether of pain pulled at her chest, forcing her to double over. Jenna looked around, and there they were, shadowy forms of children, lost and abandoned. Each child wore a mask of despair, eyes wide and empty, mouths forming silent screams that pierced her heart. "Help us!" they wailed, but she could only look on in horror. "Not now!" she growled through gritted teeth, shaking her head. "I have to find Lily!" Desperation laced her voice, growing louder than the cries. The locket's golden light washed over them, pushing the shadows back. One child stepped forward, his hollow gaze locking on hers. "You have to choose," he whispered, the words wrapping around her like a noose. "One will be saved, but the rest will remain." "Stop!" she shouted, but the child's face twisted, melding into shadows. Jenna's heart raced, terror clawing at her insides. Could she sacrifice others for Lily? How much was enough? How many must pay the price for her love? As she fought this moral battle within, an unfamiliar darkness flickered just beyond the locket's light, coiling closer, darker and angrier. She felt it slip like a predator closing in. The thundering darkness roared, drowning out her heartbeat. "Your moment is near," it thundered. Jenna closed her eyes, cringing, but her thoughts turned back to the doll and the warmth it radiated. "Mommy?" The sound was so close now. Jenna opened her eyes again, and ahead in the dim light stood a figure. She lunged forward, only to stop cold in her tracks as the figure faded dishearteningly. With her heart pounding, Jenna had to decide who would she save and who would be left behind. In the deafening silence, a foreboding realization dawned on her. No matter her choice, this darkness would take something from her. Would she pay the ultimate price for her children's freedom? Or would she remain ensnared in the depths of despair? As the shadows lunged forward, tearing at the edges of her sanity, Jenna had mere seconds to act. What would she sacrifice for love, and would that sacrifice cost her everything? Jenna stood frozen, heart racing as the swirling shadows distorted around her, growing more menacing with each passing second. The faint echo of her daughter's voice still tingled in her ears. "Mummy!" it called, a desperate plea that rooted her feet to the ground. Above the cacophony, a chilling fog moved in, blanketing the earth with suffocating dread. It felt alive, coiling around her legs, whispering dark, unspeakable secrets. The air thickened, each breath drawing her deeper into the void, and all Jenna could think of was the choice looming over her. The child in the shadows loomed larger, his eyes reflecting pain, while the other children around him shifted restlessly, their lost faces etched with hopelessness. Jenna felt their despair claw at her heart, squeezing it tight. "I can't choose," she gasped. Suddenly, the child's voice carved through the darkness again, sharp and chilling. "One will be saved, but many will remain. Only one can escape. Which will it be?" The challenge hung in the air like a noose, tightening around her throat. As Jenna's gaze darted across the darkened clearing, she could feel time slipping away, each heartbeat drumming louder in her ears. She was losing them, losing Lily. The other children shifted closer, their shadows intertwining, faces blurring into an expression of desperate yearning, each silently begging her to make a choice. The weight of their suffering pulled sharply at her. "Mummy, I'm scared!" That voice again, Lily's voice. Each syllable felt like a dagger, driving deeper into her resolve. The locket glowed dimly in her hand, flickering like her hope, now teetering on the brink of darkness. "No," she whispered, backing away, hand clenching over the locket. "No, I won't give up." The shadows hissed angrily, a chorus of disembodied voices rising in furious complaint. "You are too late. She's already ours." The sound reverberated through her bones, sending a vivid shiver racing up her spine. Jenna stumbled back, and in her panic she nearly dropped the locket. The golden glow ebbed and waned, threatening to extinguish along with her hope. Her eyes darted back and forth. She needed to make a decision. And fast. Determined, she tore her gaze away from the pleading faces that crowded around her. "Focus, Jenna," she thought. What did she know? "There's always a way," she murmured, hoping it was true. Suddenly the darkness surged forward, a tsunami of shadow and rage. It flowed like liquid mist, swallowing the light and the very breath from her lungs. Jenna felt the pull of deep despair, crying out as it yanked at her heartstrings. "No!" she screamed, summoning every ounce of strength to push back against the tide. "Get away from me!" And just then, silence. The world around her blinked as if taking a breath. In that instant she felt a flicker of clarity, a tight bond tethering her to Lily. It surged through her veins, adrenaline kissing her fear with fire. "You can't take me!" She hurled the locket at the center of the darkness. The impact released a shockwave of light, illuminating the shadowy forms for just one heartbeat. Their twisted features contorted in anguish, lost souls screaming in chorus. But it was only a brief relief. Darkness surged back, devouring the glow like a starving beast. Jenna's mind raced. Could the locket's light hold strong against the darkness, or was it just angering it more? "Lily!" she cried again, fear tangling with fury. "Where are you?" A heavy silence fell. For one fragile moment, the darkness halted, pulsing around her like a well-fed predator listening. And then, Through the swirling shadows she saw it, a glimmer, a reflection of light, an image of her daughter. It danced just out of reach, veiled in darkness, but brighter than the night around her. Jenna felt a flicker of hope, mixed with dread. The moment stretched, a taut wire ready to snap. Time hung heavy. Would she leap into that abyss for her daughter, or would the shadows remain, closing in on a choice she feared she could never make? The answering silence loomed, thick and oppressive, as something shifted in the darkness behind her. Jenna turned sharply, pulse racing, dread swelling like a tide. The shadows whispered, "The time is now." Jenna's heart thundered in her chest as she spun around, her breath hitching in her throat. The shadows undulated behind her like a thick fog, slowly revealing its true form. A figure emerged, tall and twisted, an amalgamation of anguish and hunger. Jenna's instincts screamed to flee, but she was rooted, part of her anchored by the very fear that surrounded her. She could barely make out the creature's face, but its eyes glowed with a feral light, sharp and predatory. "You have a choice to make, Jenna," it hissed, voice dripping with malice. "Only one will leave this place. Will it be your precious Lily?" "No!" The word burst from Jenna's lips like a firework, fueled by rage and desperation. "You won't take her!" In the blink of an eye, the shadows shifted, narrowing in around her. The child figures were all too close now, their eyes glistening with tears and despair. Jenna stumbled back, feeling the weight of their unfulfilled dreams pressing down on her. But she couldn't let them confuse her. Lily was somewhere out there, trapped in this tempest of pain and shadow. "Concentrate!" she thought, forcing her breaths to come steadily. She held the locket tighter, feeling its warmth slowly seep back into her palm. "What do I love more than anything?" The question echoed in her mind, drowning out the whispers of the shadows. "My daughter," she cried defiantly, lifting the locket high above her head. As if drawn by the intensity of her declaration, a segment of darkness recoiled, revealing an opening. There, through the dimness, Lily's shimmering silhouette flickered. "Mommy!" echoed that sweet, precious voice, pulling Jenna forward. She took a step, stretching her arms toward the light, but the creature lunged forward, baring jagged teeth. "No! Her time has not yet come!" it shrieked, echoing the collective despair of the other children. Their cries melded into the howling wind, creating a cacophony of haunting sound. Jenna's heart plummeted. "Please," she begged, tears streaming down her cheeks, "let me take her." The shadows writhed, and amidst the chaos, Jenna felt a surge of defiance flooding her veins. "I choose hope!" she bellowed, her voice slicing through the darkness like a blade. Light erupted from the locket as if responding to her fervor. It flared bright, casting beams that fought back the grasping shadows. Screams erupted around her, a phantasmagoria of tortured souls bathed in gold. The darkness hissed, recoiling from the brilliance. "Make your choice!" the creature snarled, anger twisting its features. "One life saved, countless others condemned." Jenna's thoughts raced faster than her pulse. In that moment, the agony of the world merged with her own desperation. "Just one more chance," she begged inwardly, an overwhelming wish boiling inside her. "I can save us all," she called out to the figures, summoning the resolve buried deep within her. Then, as the shadows moved to strike, Jenna's heart stopped. A piercing scream erupted from the depths, not from the shadows, but from Lily, a scream of terror. It echoed through the clearing, wrapping around Jenna like a tightening noose. "Mommy, help me!" The laughter of the creature swooped down like a blade, mingling with the cries of other children. Jenna stumbled, paralyzed momentarily by fear. Had she been too late? Suddenly, the world cracked wide open as she felt a bond tugging her forward, the very essence of her connection to Lily. But this time, it wasn't just hope. It was a desperate, bloody determination. "Then I'll save them all," she screamed, "together or none at all." The shadows raged against her as she lunged toward the flickering light. But would they be able to bind strength together, or would the darkness tear them all apart? In that instant, a force struck her from behind, forcing her forward into the whirlpool of despair. "Who will you save?" echoed in the oppressive blackness, overshadowing her heartbeat. The air turned electric, heavy with consequence. Jenna felt the shadows grasp at her, an icy grip that pulled her further into the depths of darkness. She fought against them, but the creature's taunts sliced through her resolve. Save her, or let them all drown? It sneered, each word a dagger in her heart. "Lily," she cried, her voice barely piercing the suffocating murk. The image of her daughter flickered like a dying flame, hope against despair, her tiny form writhing in suffocated distress. Tears streamed down Jenna's face, mixing with the soot of the shadows around her. Suddenly the world surged sideways. Jenna stumbled, feeling the crushing weight of loss press harder against her chest. Wisps of despair danced close, urging her to surrender, to choose one over the many. Images of the lost children breached her mind. Each face told a tale of longing and hope. A symphony of despair surrounded her, piling on top of her agonizing decision. "Look at them," the creature hissed, gesturing with skeletal hands. "You think you can save them?" Jenna shook her head, grounding herself against the tide of utter hopelessness. "No!" she shouted defiantly. "I won't choose! I refuse to believe! I will fight!" With a surge of adrenaline, she yanked the locket down to her heart, feeling its warmth igniting her blood. The echoes of the children became less a cacophony and more a singular pleas, all sewn together in a quilt of desperation. "I hear you!" she cried, forcing the shadows back with the brightness of her love. But darkness swirled, coalescing into a tempest that threatened to swallow her whole. Jenna pressed forward, reaching with raw courage. "Together," she murmured, imagining the strength of so many children, their spirits threaded through her being like a lifeline cast against a storm. Just then, in a blinding flash, a scream shattered the air, stronger than all the noise combined. It was Lily, now crystal clear in the foul haze, but she was reaching for Jenna, her small frame twisted against an invisible restraint, the darkness manifesting as claws wrapping tight around her little body. "Mommy!" Her voice was no longer sweet. It was a shriek of pure terror, crystalline and jagged. "Lily, hold on!" The very concept of hope fueled Jenna forward, propelling her toward the shimmering figure amidst a frenzy of shadows. She ran, not caring that the darkness lashed out, wanting nothing more than to reach her child. But just when Jenna felt strong enough to bridge the gap, something cold snaked around her ankle, yanking her down. Panic paralyzed her as she fell to her knees, slamming against the gritty ground. It was pulling, dragging her back, whispering doubts that fueled her terror. "Let her go!" she screamed, grappling with the core of her fear, desperate light spilling from her heart like a beacon. The creature surged before her, its form shifting and morphing into the faces of the other lost children, twisted in pain. "Your love is a weakness. They are trapped, and so are you." With one final push, she stood tall, the locket radiating warmth, knitting memories and promises into an unbreakable bond. "No, your fear won't take us," she shouted, adrenaline surging. And then every child joined her, their collective tears pouring into the locket, battling against the darkness. It was a mounting wave, a tide of hope fueled by love and unity, a force the shadows could not contain. But the creature howled, its face contorting in fury. "You cannot escape your fate. You all belong to me." The world shuddered as intertwining light clashed against ravenous darkness. A tremendous force swept through the clearing, and Jenna felt herself tipping into a vortex of chaos. Would they soar together into the light, or would the shadows devour them whole? In that moment, she grasped for her daughter, for the children, for everything she fought for, and screamed into the storm. Together, or none at all. Yet amidst the chaos, a new voice broke through the storm, louder, chilling. "The choice isn't yours to make. Everything shifted again, and as Jenna's vision blurred, she couldn't tell where she ended, and the darkness began. Jenna felt the shadows twisting around her, contorting her hope into despair. The screams echoed, a grim chorus of lost souls celebrating her descent into the heart of darkness. Each cry reverberated through her, chilling her bones, reminding her of everything she had to lose. "Together, or none at all," she repeated, grounding herself in the truth she clung to. With the locket still pulsing against her chest, she envisioned the faces of her children. Their laughter rang in her ears, filling her with fire. Lily! Sam! With desperate breath, she fought against the shadows wrapping around her like chains. "You can't take them." A shadowy arm lashed out, powering through her resolve. It stung like ice. "They are mine!" the creature hissed, its form shifting and swirling like smoke caught in a tempest. "You could save one, but you don't have the strength for them all." "No," Jenna screamed, feeling her essence tear apart. Fear surged through her. Every fiber of her being screamed to let go, to submit to the overwhelming despair. But within that moment of sheer hopelessness, she remembered the locket, not just a piece of jewelry, but a vessel of love she had shared with her children. With her heart pounding, Jenna concentrated on that love, reclaiming it for herself. "If I have to fight for them, I will!" she shouted against the rising darkness. The creature cackled, shadows boiling around them. "Fool! You think love can conquer the depths of despair?" Yet, as she felt the warmth of the locket grow hotter against her skin, she realized something vital. This darkness wasn't just a force. It thrived off fear, off the choices that chained them within this void. The locket's glow intensified, the power of love illuminating the encroaching blackness, turning twisted despair into threads of hope. "Love is stronger than fear," Jenna cried, embodying every ounce of her despair into a singular message. "And I refuse to let you have them. I will save them, all of them." With that conviction fueling her, the shadows recoiled momentarily, caught off guard by a light that burned with defiance. "No!" the creature screeched, but the brilliance from the locket brightened, casting away the shadows, consuming her. "Let my children go!" Jenna's voice thundered, reverberating through the clearing. The darkness writhed, chaotic and angry, reforming before her into a vortex of rage. "They deserve their chance to live." For a heartbeat, the struggle hung in the air like static electricity. The creature faltered, hesitating in the face of something it had never encountered before, an unwavering heart full of love. "Mommy, please!" Lily's voice cut through the chaos, crystalline and fervent. Jenna lunged forward, reaching with every bit of strength she could muster. "Lily!" she cried out, her heart racing, desperate to bridge that distance. Nearby forms began to materialize. Sam, Lily, the other lost children, shadows of hope flickering around her. Each child shone brighter than before, pooling their desperate energy into the locket, beacons in the dark. A surge of strength flooded through Jenna, igniting her spirit, pushing fear aside. As shadows lunged, Jenna held her ground, gripping the locket tighter. "You will not win! Together we stand!" she screamed, bearing witness to her love manifesting as a shield against the darkness closing in. And then she felt it. A surge connecting them all, a tether stronger than any bond. Each child's light merged with hers, and with that unity, Jenna mixed her pleas for sanctuary, stronger than any curse the darkness could conjure. Suddenly, the shadows began to cave, tumbling back, twisting into themselves like a whirlpool. Jenna gasped as tendrils of darkness loomed over her, but felt the warmth of Lily and Sam pull closer. "Fight with us, Mommy!" Sam joined in, his voice emboldened alongside Lily's. "Please, don't let go!" The clarity of their faces under the locket's glow surged through her, empowering her beyond her fears. She surged forward, a warrior fueled by fury, love, and the unquenchable desire to rescue not just her children, but to free all lost souls trapped in this horror. "Now!" she screamed, releasing the locket with every last bit of will she possessed. It exploded into a torrent of light, a dazzling beacon of love that shattered the suffocating darkness. With that light, Jenna felt arms wrapping around her, tight, secure and warm, as the reality of her children swirled back into focus. They were all together, twirling within the luminescence, laughter rising against the sill of shadows that began to fracture. The others joined in, each lost soul reclaiming its identity, breaking the curse as memories flooded back, joyful giggles, warm hugs, and the smell of fresh pancakes on a Sunday morning. Together they shrieked, lifting their voices against the darkness, an anthem of life overpowering the curse that threatened to consume them. Finally, the shadows, weakened and shriveled, flitted away like spirits, retreating into the deep, banished by the bond they could never understand. "You did it, Mommy!" Lily cheered, her eyes sparkling, reveling in the reunion. Jenna held them tight, tears cascading down her cheeks as the light enveloped them in its embrace. "Never again," she whispered, brushing them with kisses and warmth, her anxiety ebbing away. As the clearing transformed, a warm glow surrounded them. The weight of the darkness lifted. The park no longer felt ominous but bathed in the golden light of dawn. Jenna felt a weight lifted, her heart thrumming with joy. They were home, and as she absorbed the beautiful reality of her saved children, she realized that love truly eclipsed darkness. The fight they championed together had altered not just their fates, but the lives of all trapped in shadows. With hands tightly held, they stepped forward, embracing the dawn as whispers of gratitude danced in the air around them. "Let's go home," Jenna said, her pulse steady, ready for whatever came next. Together, forever. Now, if you enjoyed this thrilling conclusion and want to dive deeper into more spine-chilling stories, you need to subscribe to the channel now. Hit that bell icon so you never miss out. Please smash that like button to feed the algorithm and show your support. And don't forget to flood the comments with your reactions and theories about this mind-blowing ending. We can't wait to hear from you. And this is the moment to share this video with at least 5 friends. Don't wait even one more second. Only true fans understand the importance of connecting with others about these stories.